This is probably not what you were expecting, but here we go. I used to work for a relatively small security company. It was privately owned and had about 30 employees altogether. They'd get a contract with a factory, and then basically your job was to sit there at that factory for about 8 to 12 hours when no one was working in it. So I would be working by myself, alone overnight, in a completely empty factory. In my 2 years of doing that job, I never one time saw a single thing that I would call supernatural. However, I did see Dennis. One night, my captain calls me on my phone and tells me a new trainee will be coming in at about 5 a.m., and I was to show him the ropes. Teach him how to make rounds, walking around the building, and that's basically what a round is. So it's about 4:45 a.m., and I step outside to the parking lot to have a smoke and wait on the new guy. After about 10 minutes, a car pulls up, stops, backs up, and drives away. I was clearly visible, so I have no idea why he left. But the car passed by 3 or 4 more times before they finally pulled in and shut off the engine. I can see him in the car, and he's just sitting there in the driver's seat staring at me. In the back seat are 2 kids, probably around 6 or 8. After about 3 minutes of me wondering what the heck is going on here, he gets out of the car. Now, Dennis is really messed up looking. He's about 4'10" and fatter than pretty much anyone I had ever seen in my life. He has a huge rash covering about 70% of his body, with white crusty stuff outlining most of it. He then speaks. Had a little trouble finding the place. His voice is really high-pitched. I mean, really high-pitched. I'm talking Judge Doom in the final scene of Who Framed Roger Rabbit high-pitched. Then he extends his hand to shake mine, and without thinking, I shake it. And there's 1 finger on it. 1. And the rest of his hand looks like some kind of stumpy flesh mitten. One of the kids gets out of the car and has the same rash and is also very fat, and is also missing fingers. He says, "Daddy, can I get a drink?" Dennis turns around and screams in that high-pitched voice, "Get back in the car and don't get out again." I was in shock. So, anyway, I take the guy around the factory, show him the perimeter, tell him where the emergency stuff is, etc. And about a minute into our walk, I notice this guy smells. Smells like hell. He literally reeks of ball sweat and fresh diarrhea. The whole time, he's asking me stupid questions, too, like, "Do you have a crush on anyone who works here?" Or, "Can I hunt on this property?" He finally leaves after standing in the office trying to make small talk with me for about 15 minutes after the tour. On his way out, he said, "We're gonna be good friends, even if you don't think so right now." I went home about 2 hours later and stood in the shower for a good solid hour washing myself, trying to get the image of that guy out of my head. I called my captain and asked him to reassign me someplace else. Never had to see him again. It has been more than 10 years, and it still bothers me. While working the graveyard shift in the small hotel, all alone, I had a guest ask me for a 6-foot extension cord. It took me a while, but I found one, and brought it to his room. The housekeeper found him dead the next day. He hung himself with the extension cord. I used to work as a corrections officer, and I have plenty of really creepy stuff that has happened over those 5 years. But by far, this is my favorite incident. I was assigned to the single-man cells wing of the jail, which is basically solitary confinement for inmates who've been punished for breaking rules and such in the jail. So around 5 a.m., medical call comes up for all the inmates that need medication, and they are to be escorted from my wing to the medical wing to receive their meds. I pulled out the 2 guys, restrained them, instruct them to face the wall and await the guard who will be escorting them. As the 3 of us are just standing there, I begin to hear a woman crying. I was new to that jail, and didn't think much of it. And as I'm just listening to this woman cry, I slowly start to realize a few things. There's no females in this wing, nor in any wing where men are. The female wing is down the hall sealed tight, with 3 doors between them and the hall, and the actual wing. And there's only about 2 other males in my wing who are asleep aside from the 3 of us. I look up at the inmates and notice they have this kind of smile on their face as they notice me watching and realize what's going on. I ask them, "Do you guys hear that?" One of the inmates responds, "Almost every night, boss." I used to work the night shift in a Greasy Spoon diner. Lots of drunks and stuff. So the other waitress gets off at 4 a.m., where I stay until 7 a.m. She leaves, only to come back a few seconds later. She has a weird, half-smiling look on her face. She says, someone put something on your car? Judging by her look, I know it's not good. I run out to find my car covered in naked dolls. Hundreds of them. Cabbage Patch, Barbie dolls, baby dolls, etc. All different kinds, shapes, sizes. The only thing they have in common, though, is they're all naked. It took 4.5 55-gallon trash bags to get rid of them all. It was weird. What came next was weirder, though. I proceeded to get calls at work, nightly, at 4:15 a.m., asking if I liked my gift. The calls started out as polite and inquisitive, and over 2 months turned into yelling and calling me a slut. Then, one day at 4:15 a.m., like always, the phone rings and I answer it. I hear a bunch of popping noises, no voices though. Then they hang up. I never got a call again. It's been 9 years and I still have no clue who or why. I work on the maintenance team in a large foundry base. It was a normal non-production night in our eyes for me and another guy. We heard a few knocks and bangs, but with the compressors being turned off, things drop and bang as the compressed air slowly drops due to leaks. Anyway, we went on about our night, but turns out the firm was robbed while we were there that night. And we had no idea. They watched the CCTV back, and at one point, a man was standing above me with a metal bar, while another man was standing on a girder above the other guy's head with a crowbar, in case we heard anything. So it's a good thing we didn't hear anything, really. It was very creepy watching that back.